Okay. Is this on? Okay. Coffee. Okay. Okay. Get it together. Get it together. Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Heather and as always I'm reading with a vengeance and I hope you are too. I'm so excited to be recording again so soon, twice in 1 week. Although I did tell you that I was going to be recording another wrap-up video soon, but then I realized July is right around the corner. I did not do a video for books that I'm excited to be releasing in June, even though I had a list ready. So I wanted to make sure that I recorded books that I'm excited releasing in July because I have a list ready for that too. So I'm gonna skip the chit chat because let's be honest, not a whole lot has happened in the 4 or 5 days since I recorded last, and let's get right into these new books. I am gonna mention really quickly the books that I had on my list for June. They're already out for you to go out and grab, so if you get excited about any of them, you're all set. But there's only 5 of them, and I just wanted to throw them out there for you. It's really going to be super simple because the first one is All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. I've already read that. I've already reviewed it for you. It was in my last video. I absolutely loved it. I still recommend it. It came out just yesterday, June 25th. So it is out there waiting to be read, and I highly recommend it. If you want to hear more details about it, you know what? I say if you want to hear more details, but when I reviewed it, it was very difficult to tell you a whole lot about the book. And that's fine because the less you know going in, the better. It's coming of age. It's a mystery. It spans decades. It focuses on a friendship and loyalty and the things you do for love and obsession, and it's just really well written, and it'll just really immerse you in this world. If you're looking for a fluff read for summertime, this one is not it. But if you like to be immersed in a really, really good story, then definitely pick this one up. Another one on the list for June release that I was going to mention is Smalltown Horror by Ronald Malfi. I happen to be listening to it right now. I'm really hoping this one has a unique twist on a group of childhood friends who have now scattered in their adulthood. They go back to their hometown to confront something terrible that happened to them as kids. Malfi has done this before. I've read before. I think it was Black Mouth that I read, and I really, really enjoyed it. But this is sounding really similar. We're going to have to wait and see on that one. But I was really excited about it, so I'm reading it. Review to come. This next one I know is going to be a perfect summer read, and I think it's going to be a perfect read for all of you because it's a book about books. And it is Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books by Kirsten Miller. This one came out on June 18th. It's contemporary fiction. It follows a town in Georgia, which I was also excited about. It's a small town. You're mostly following Beverly and her arch enemy, Lula. And Beverly is on, I believe, like the city council, and Lula is on a mission to get rid of all the books she deems inappropriate out of the schools. And so she sets up a little free library in her front yard with all the books that she thinks people should be reading. But unbeknownst to her, Beverly's daughter, Lindsay, sticks a bunch of books that Lula would not appreciate, but puts covers on them to disguise them as wholesome books. Insanity ensues, and we get to know more of the townsfolk as they read these books that they weren't counting on reading. I think there's going to be some humor in there. I think there's going to be some heartwarming elements in there. I think it's going to be a really fun one for the summer. And I just remembered that I usually give a page count for these books. I want to let you know that All the Colors of the Dark has just over 600 pages. It's a chunker. Don't be scared. You fly through it. Short chapters. It's great. Smalltown Horror is right at 400 pages, and Lula Dean's is right at 300 pages, which is perfect for a summer read. Okay, moving on. The next one I want to talk about is Margo's Got Money Troubles by Rufi Thorpe. This is contemporary literary fiction, and we're following Margo, of course, who was raised by a professional wrestler and a Hooters waitress. And she learned from a young age that she needed to know how to take care of herself. She knew if she was going to make it, she needed to be educated. So she enrolls in the local junior college. She gets started on her life as an adult. Things happen. She has an affair with one of her professors. She gets pregnant, and at 20 years old, she is stuck with no job, an infant, and on the verge of being homeless. Then to top it all off, her estranged dad shows up on her doorstep, asks if he can move in for a little bit, and she says, sure, but I'm going to need your help with childcare. So we have that scenario going on, but Margo still needs to pay the bills, and what she decides to do is start a fans only or OnlyFans page. You guys, I'm Gen X. I don't even know what OnlyFans is, but I kind of have an idea of what it is. And she gets tips from her dad about creating a character from his life as a professional wrestler. And much to her surprise, it becomes a huge success. Margo's starting to wonder, wow, is this the answer to all my problems? And at first it seems like it is, but then stuff starts happening, and then she starts to wonder if she's paying too high a price for this type of success. It's supposed to be sharply funny, but with also insight into a young woman's journey into adulthood. There's commentary here about coming into your own, both online and off, and creating your own narrative. This one's right at 300 pages. I think this will be perfect for the summer as well. And finally for June, for you horror lovers, I have Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman, who is the author of Bird Box. Personally, I like to be scared by a book, and I like to read a scary book in the dark. But if you don't like to be scared, but still enjoy horror stories, I think summer is perfect time for a horror book, because it's kind of hard to get scared when you're out in the sunshine, in the daylight, under the umbrella, you've got a cocktail, you've got the pool right there. I think that's a perfect scenario for a horror novel. Anyways, Incidents Around the House follows young Bella, who is an 8-year-old girl, and the entire story is told from her perspective, which I think will add to the eeriness of it. She lives with her mom and dad and grandmother, but there is an entity in the house that she refers to as Other Mommy. And Other Mommy doesn't have good intentions, I don't think. I think Other Mommy starts off as a comfort for Bella because there are some issues going on within Bella's family, but then Other Mommy starts asking more and more of Bella. I think Other Mommy wants to take over Bella. She keeps asking and asking and asking and not getting the answer that she wants. And so bad stuff starts happening around the house, and the story goes from there. And so I think we're dealing in this story with the paranormal and the scary stuff that can happen there. And then we're also dealing with scary stuff that can happen in a family. This one is just under 400 pages, and it came out on June 25th as well. Okay, moving on to the books that I'm excited to come out in July. The first one is The World After Alice by Lauren Eliza Green. This is a debut novel. You know how that excites me. This is contemporary literary fiction. I believe the story opens up when Morgan and Benji send wedding invitations to their respective families, and it's a surprise to everybody. Their relationship has been a secret because the two families used to be close, but they have not communicated with each other in 12 years since the funeral of Alice, and Alice was Benji's sister and Morgan's best friend. All these people from these two families are descending on this coastal town in Maine for this wedding, and everybody has their doubts about this union between Morgan and Benji. Of course, everybody has secrets long buried that are obviously going to come out in this story. And then, of course, we have the main players. We have Morgan's dad, who, of course, is going to do everything he can to dissuade Morgan from saying I do. We have Benji's mom, who brings her new boyfriend who has this sordid past. We have Benji's dad, who is trying to get a new job before his wife finds out that he lost his old one, and his new wife happens to be his former secretary and mistress. And of course, Morgan herself, she is harboring her own secrets, and she's just trying to get through the weekend and get to the happy life that she is just so hoping for. And Benji is just trying to make sure everything goes smoothly. The more and more secrets come out, old wounds resurface, people start to doubt how well they know these people people that they've known for so very long. Will the wedding happen? Will it not? What happened with Alice all those years ago? Family drama and secrets. That's such good fodder for summer reading, don't you think? The World After Alice is right at 320 pages and it comes out July 2nd. Next up is Lenny Marks Gets Away with Murder by Karen Maine. Another debut novel. This is a mystery thriller. And of course, we're following Lenny as she goes about her life, although Lenny is really, really good at not having a life. She goes to work the same way every day at the same time. She goes home every day the same way at the same time. She goes to the same grocery store and gets the same things to make the same meals every day. She has her routines, and she's very good at keeping that routine. She's also really good at not remembering the day years ago when her mother and stepfather disappeared, when a voice in the back of her head told her to do something. But then one day a letter from the parole board arrives, and as much as she tries to avoid it, Lenny finally reads it. And when she does, her life starts to unravel, because what's happening is long buried memories are starting to come up for her. But in this unraveling, she starts to rely very hesitantly on the people in her community, and she starts to develop friendships and relationships, and things start to change in Lenny's very routine, ordered life. But what's unexpected to Lenny is that these changes are for the better. So I think heartbreaking and heartwarming are both words that can describe this book. But we still have this mystery quality to it. And I think Lenny Marks is going to be one of those characters that we're going to be rooting for. I think this one is just going to be a really fun one for the summer. For some reason, this character specifically reminds me of Clover from the Collected Regrets of Clover, which I really, really enjoyed. So yeah, this one stuck out to me. The other thing that stuck out for me is this is an Australian author, and I think it takes place in Australia. You know how I am about Australian literature. Lenny Marks Gets Away with Murder comes in at 352 pages and comes out July 9th. Okay, next up, I have another horror novel. I don't know why I have not read this author yet. I have several of his books on my TBR. I've talked about a couple of his books. Anyways, the one I'm talking about is I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. So there's not much to this synopsis. I think it's going to read very much like the title sounds like, but we are following Tolly, who is a 17-year-old kid growing up in a small town in Texas in 1989. And while Tolly has more potential than ambition, he is smart. However, something happens and he is about to kill for revenge. Now, why? I don't know. And I think that's going to be part of the fun of reading this book. And I think it reads kind of like an autobiography, and Tolly is telling you his story of what he's doing, why he's doing it. I love a good horror novel. I really want to get into this author. But the other thing that stuck out for me on this book is I think there's going to be a lot of 80s references, which I very much enjoy. I was very much an 80s kid. And another thing I really enjoy for some weird reason is I think this book is going to have you kind of rooting for the bad guy. And I love it when a book can do that. So I am actually really hoping to get to this one this summer. And I think this one will be a good introduction to this author for me. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. I Was a Teenage Slasher comes in at 384 pages and it comes out July 16th. Next up is Off the Books by Soma Mai Shang Fraser. That's a mouthful of a name. This one grabbed my attention because of the cover, or is it over here? I don't even know. But this cover just kind of looks like a summer read, right? And then I saw that it was a mystery and also kind of a road trip book. And I thought that was perfect for the summer. And I don't know why my theme is kind of going towards, ooh, summer reads. I didn't intend for that to be the case. These are books that I am excited to come out in July. Let's stay focused, Heather. But I guess for some reason, a lot of these books just seem like perfect summer reads. Anyway, in this one, we are following Mel. She's a young woman who has recently dropped out of Dartmouth. She is driving a limousine as a way to make ends meet. And her grandfather convinces her to start taking money under the table as a way to save a little bit more money. And one thing leads to another, and she is routinely chauffeuring around sex workers. But Mel minds her own business. It's all about making money, paying the bills, but her discretion leads her to gain a very mysterious new client. Enter Henry, handsome and reserved. Mysterious because he's always carrying around this black suitcase. Mel is hired by Henry to drive him across country, I believe from New York to San Francisco. While Mel wants to make good time, Henry is more interested in taking frequent breaks. And then Mel discovers Henry's secret, I guess what's in the suitcase, and her discretion goes out the window and she confronts Henry about it. What Henry tells her really shakes her up, and this road trip goes from being casual and transactional to high moral stakes and consequences, even danger, I think. Other than the cover, I think what really spoke to me about this one is it's a coming of age, which I really, really love. It also is a commentary on the power of doing the right thing, the resilience of the human spirit. I think this one's going to be a feel-good one. And while this isn't a debut novel, this is a new to me author. I've not even heard of this author, so I hope to get to this one soon. Famous last words, right? This is a short one. Off the Books comes in at 224 pages, and it comes out July 30th. Next up, I have a book that I think is a little less lighthearted than some of the books that I've talked about so far. We have Long Island Compromise by Taffy Brodesser-Akner. These names are challenging my brain. So this is literary historical fiction, mostly literary though, but I think it starts in the 1980s and it spans to present day. And we're following the same family. I think we open with the main character, Carl Fletcher, who is a wealthy businessman. He gets kidnapped from his driveway in broad daylight. For a week, I think he is brutalized until he's released after being paid a ransom. He goes home, and for the most part, he heals and recovers, and he and his family do everything to kind of move forward in their lives, you know, realizing that their wealth is what endangered their family to begin with, but it was also what kind of got them out of danger as well. And then we just kind of follow their family through the years in the wake of this very unusual event. And then 40 years later, Carl's mother dies, and then family members come home to mourn her, and things start happening, things start coming up, and it turns out that the healing and the recovery that the family thought happened didn't really happen as much as it seemed. So I think, as with a lot of literary fiction, not a whole lot plot-wise happens outside that initial kidnapping. I think it's about relationships and the decisions that we make after certain events. For me, this one kind of reminded me of The Dutch House by Ann Patchett, which I really, really enjoyed. And it follows this brother and sister as they move through life and things happening to them and how they react differently to the same things. And once that idea popped in my head, because at first, when I first read the synopsis, I thought, but then, I don't know, The Dutch House popped up in my mind. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I really liked that. So I added this one to this list because I think it's going to be one of those sleeper novels that will kind of rise and become a hit. Who knows? But regardless of that, I think I'm going to enjoy it. And if I enjoy it, maybe you'll enjoy it. Long Island Compromise, unsurprisingly, is at around 460 pages, and it comes out July 9th. And finally, the last book I'm going to talk to you about is the one I am most excited about, and that is The Lion Women of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. She is the author of The Stationery Shop, which I think I featured in a video a long time ago. Have I read that book yet? No. After I tell you what it's about, I'll tell you why I'm super excited about it, but you might be able to figure it out. The story opens in the 1950s in Tehran, and you're following Ellie, who is a 7-year-old, and she lives in comfort and wealth until her father dies, and Ellie and her mother are forced to move to this smaller town with smaller means. While Ellie is dealing with this, she meets Homa at school, who is this kind young girl. They become fast friends. They do everything together. And Ellie is learning about certain things in life that she didn't have to deal with in the comfort of wealth. And everything is good until life is disrupted again when Ellie and her mother are afforded the opportunity to live in that comfortable life of wealth again, and they are swept away. Some time passes, and now Ellie is a popular student at the best girls' school in Iran, and Ellie's memories of her friend Homa start to fade. Then more time passes, years, I think, and Ellie is still in her privileged world of wealth when Homa reappears in her life, and it changes the course of both of their lives. And then as they are kind of coming of age together and pursuing their life goals, the political turmoil of Iran starts to erupt, and then there's a betrayal, and things go from there. For me, this is very exciting because this sounds a lot like Khaled Hosseini's The Kite Runner, which is one of my all-time favorite books. If you haven't read The Kite Runner, I highly recommend it. And this one just feels like it's going to have that same effect on me. And so I'm just very, very excited about it. And I hope you are too. You've got coming of age, you've got historical fiction, you've got a friendship between two women that spans from their childhood to adulthood. Just a lot of tick marks for me on this one. The Lion Women of Tehran comes in at 336 pages, which is another tick mark because that's like the perfect length for me. And it comes out on July 2nd. And actually the last book I want to talk to you about just happens to be one I'm currently reading. This one comes out on July 2nd. I'm reading Broiler by Eli Craner, and I'm really excited to tell you about this one because this author wrote Ozark Dogs, which I absolutely loved. I think it was a favorite in the year that I read it. So I was really excited that this one was coming out, and we had an arc at the shop. And so I just wanted to mention it here. This one comes out July 2nd, if I didn't mention that before. And so far, so good. I'm only about 60 pages in. But that is it. Those are the books that I am excited to come out in July. What books are you excited to come out in July? I would love to hear about them. It feels so good to record this video. As you know, telling you about new releases is one of my favorite videos to record, so I'm just happy to be back. I'm happy to add to your TBR. And if any of you are in a reading slump, I hope some of these books get you excited to read again. But if you're not in a reading slump, tell me what you're reading. Tell me down in the comments what you're looking forward to. Or you can just say hi down in the doobly-doo. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye!